Hello, this is David William Weissner, and this is another episode of David Speaks. On this episode, we're going to talk about my run in with the music industry. We're talking like 15, 12 years ago, um, when I had two record deals at two different times and managed to blow them up for stupidity and for my manic episode that I was going through. Um, so, as you know, if you've watched this channel before, my life's been kind of crazy. Um, I've written a book called Bipolar Disorder Through My Eyes, a Memoir of Hope, which is on Amazon. And I document a lot of the stories and things that happened to me during my life in the book. This story didn't make the final cut. I've cut it out of the book for my own reasons, but I'm going to tell it to you now. Okay, I was hanging out in a bar on Victory Boulevard in Staten Island and just hanging out. I was in my manic episode, so I was like very chatty and talkative to everyone. Um, Normally I'm more subdued and quiet. And I talked to the man who owned the bar. Okay, let's call him, I don't know, Larry or something. And we talked for a long time. And he liked my look. I had long hair at the time. I don't know, I looked really good that night. And um, he asked me what I did. And I said, listen, man, I'm homeless, but I'm a songwriter. I'm a singer, and I play guitar. I play piano. And he's like, really? He's like, oh, that's interesting because I work with. He told me the man he works with. You'd all know the name. One of the biggest names in the industry. I'm not going to reveal it here because uh, it's just not right to do that. So anyway, so he said, oh, okay. I'm partners with this guy, and we can make you a big star if you have the music, if you have the voice. And he said, do you have music online? And I did. At that time, I did have a website, and I had some other things online on YouTube. So he said, well, write down your name, and I'm going to talk to my partner about it. And he said, if we can go through with this deal, if you're what we think you're going to be, it's going to be 3% for you, 7% for me, and 90% for the mogul, what his name is. And I was homeless. I'm like, well, whatever. 3% of nothing is nothing to me. But um, so I went back up to Newport where I lived. And at the time I was living literally in a laundromat. That's where I did. And I was living in a laundromat because I was homeless in Newport at the time. And I guess they they liked my music. They liked everything I presented to them, and they sent a girl. Okay, we'll call her, I don't know, Stacy. Not her real name, but we'll call her Stacy, to come up and find me and bring me back to Manhattan to meet with their people. Okay, so I didn't sleep really much then. Like I said, I was manic. I was sleeping in the laundromat. So it was like 6:30 in the morning, and I go to like the 7-Eleven kind of thing at the gas station, and I was just going in there, and there was a girl, this beautiful girl, um, with blonde hair and blue eyes, very thin and beautiful, and she was like screaming her head off in there when she saw me, like, I want to have sex on a bus. I want to have sex on a bus. I want to have sex on a bus. And it was just crazy. I was like, what the hell's going on here? And then somehow we started talking, started getting into it. And when I got her outside, I started making out with her. And to me, it was just another crazy day in Newport when I was manic. And then she told me she wanted me to bring me back to Manhattan to meet somebody. I figured out, it was someone in the music industry, and and we had a fun day. It was kind of crazy. She was drunk as a skunk. Yeah, at 6:37 in the morning, I was completely straight, just looking for something to eat. The priest there at the Catholic Church in Newport had given me like I don't know, $60 or $80 the day before to get food. So I got some food, and I was just hanging out with her, and we were hanging out in the cafeteria, which was like a coffee shop at the time, and we were just making out, and hanging out, and just running around, being silly, and it was a great day. It was so much fun, and she was really a sweetheart, and really nice to me. And so finally, she's like sobered up a few hours later, and she's like, or like many hours later, and she said, "Well, we have to take the bus back to Manhattan, and you got to pay your ticket. I'll pay my ticket." And I was like, "No." I was like, "Leave me alone. I'm not moving from New Paltz. I love it so much, and that money's for food. I'm spending it on that." We argued a little bit, and she said, "Fine, I'll pay your ticket." I said, "Okay." Oh yeah, this is what it was. This is how she got me down there. She said, "Don't worry. After we have our meeting, we're going to have a how'd she put it? Oh, a slumber party with six lingerie models." I said, "Really?" She's like, "Yes, that's what the company wants for us after you talk to this man." I said, "Well, that sounds like fun." And it was with her and six lingerie models in Brooklyn. So that got me going, and we got on the bus down to that was taking us all the way down to the Port Authority from New Paltz, and on the bus she gave me some opium to smoke, and the bus driver didn't seem to care. I don't know what kind of sitting in the middle or front seats, but we were smoking opium out of a little like a magic lantern. It was pretty. I like opium. Not that's the last time I've ever smoked it, and the last I don't do drugs or alcohol or anything like that. This is 14 years ago, and I just did it once at that time because whatever. I was manic. I was having fun, so I smoked some opium with her, uh, and that was pretty fun on the bus. So then we got home to Manhattan, or her home, or we got back to Manhattan, and eventually she took me all the way to a bar in downtown. Got there on the subway, and I was really exhausted by this time, and we met this man, and I shook his hand, and he said, "Hello, nice to meet you. I'm a producer. I produce the big guy, I mean the mogul who was also big in the music industry, and this other woman who was also a huge star. I don't want to say the names now. I just don't want that out there." I said, "Oh, that's nice," and I talked to him for a little while, and I knew he was the real deal, and this is my chance to. This is what the record company and the mogul has sent me to get in touch with their producer to set up an appointment to go into the studio and you know show them my songs, show them what I could do. It was a real interview with him, and but I just like freaked out. I started screaming, "Stacy, Stacy, Stacy, get me a fucking place to rest. I gotta get the hell out of here." And I just started screaming because I was high on opium and whatever else she gave to me, and everything. I just blew it up, and it was really fucked up, and and that's how I lost my first record deal. Okay, now let's go ahead like I don't know, like 2 years, 3 years. I was homeless in Venice Beach for 2 years. I was in and out of jail. I still wasn't on my medication, which made me crazy like that. I mean, on my medication, I'm just perfectly fine, like I always am. But the doctor had given me the wrong medication or something that didn't work, and we couldn't find out what worked. So it was a really bad time for me, and I was in Venice Beach, California, for 2 years, and then eventually I got home, which is a whole nother crazy story. You could read about it in the book if you do read it, and please do. Um, Eventually, I got back home to New York City, and I said, "I want my record deal back." I'm like sane now. Everything is good, and I wasn't, but I thought I was. But um, so I wrote a letter, right, and I brought it back to the bar, and I asked the guy named, we'll call him Larry. I asked the waitress who was like dating him or something. I don't know. I just knew him. The waitress, I said, "I have a letter. Could you give it to Larry to give to the mogul?" Okay. And in the letter, I wrote, "I'm really sorry about what happened. I was kind of high and drunk, and I have mental illness. I'm bipolar. I was homeless, and I don't know if this would work, but it did. Meaning, and I was back in my house in Staten Island, but it did work because the waitress gave it to Larry. Larry gave it to the mogul, and like about a month later, I got a call, okay, on my phone, um, and he said, "Hey, can I speak to David Weissner?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's me." And then he goes, "My name is." I'm gonna make a fake name. Okay, he was a rapper, had a rap name. My name is, let's call him, I don't know, XYZ. We'll call him. No offense to anyone who has that rap name, but it was we'll call him XYZ. And he goes, "This is XYZ," and I'm like, "XYZ? Was this a joke, man? Who the hell is this?" He goes, "No, I'm a friend." And he named the mogul. He said, "I'm a friend with the mogul, and he wants me to check you out." He said, "You're a good musician, and you're looking for a record contract. I can get you a small record contract. I can get you shows." He wasn't like big time like the mogul, but he had his foot in the door. He had a lot of ins. It was a real record company he represented, and he was a rapper too. And he said if he liked my music, he could get me a small record deal, shows all over the city, and radio spots. So he was going to really raise my career to professional and everything, what's at the higher level. Um, so I said okay, and I sent him I got his email, and I sent him all my details of what my music was and how could he heard it. And like a week later, he got back to me and he's like, "Oh, I heard your music. I really like it a lot, and I think we could do business together." I said, "All right, that's cool. That's very cool." I said, "Oh, I'm getting another shot. This man sounds very nice," and we didn't talk percentages or anything. We just kind of had a conversation, and and then we had another conversation like another week later. And by that time, I was living in New Paltz again. My life just fell apart so many times. It's just horrible to think about it. I mean, this was a real record contract. So eventually, we made a date to meet. I was going to meet him and his agent in a bar in Uptown Manhattan. The problem was I didn't have a car. Okay, but in New Paltz, I had a friend who had a car, and he helped me go to Staten Island to get my stuff because I had money to get like an apartment in New Paltz. So he drove me down to Staten Island. I don't want to go through the whole thing because it'll take me an hour just to get through the craziness of that day. But let's just say the cops busted me at the house because my mother was trying to get me to a hospital, and it was to get my sanity back and to get my be back on the pills, and I got arrested at the house. And it was the day I was supposed to meet with this guy, uh, XYZ, whatever we're calling him, and that was it. Meaning, I spent the next year and a half in jail or in the hospital, and that was the end of the record deal. And being a pop star or a rock star, whatever they're going to make me, really was never my goal. Growing up, I played the piano and I sang. Eventually, I wrote songs, but I just did it for myself. I really had and I still don't. I've never had any ideas of being a star. I wanted to be a writer and a speaker, and I wanted to fight for people's rights, which I try to do on this channel and even in my book, where I make it very clear how people are treated in this country when they're in jail, when they're in mental hospitals, when they're homeless, and it's very poorly. It's very badly we're treated. So I blew up two record deals, and that was kind of it. Uh, and I don't really regret it. Maybe it would have been fun as a manic person, but I wouldn't want to get near all those drugs and alcohol and bad people that's around it. I mean, the stars in the record business are amazing. You know, uh, People like Olivia Rodrigo and Aurora. I like Sabrina Carpenter. I think she's very good too. These new stars that are coming up. I think they're really putting a positive spin on things. But it's still, the record companies still, there's a lot of no good there. Okay, so that's my little story about how I blew two record contracts. But in the end, I came out of South Beach Psych, and I was on all the right medications, and that was like 11, 12 years ago, and I've been fine ever since. Um, I did have one episode after my cats died where I was very depressed for a while, but and a little it's kind of normal. But all right, that's my little recitation about the music industry. This is David Weissner. Have a great night. Bye.